alkane nomenclature. That is what to be studied in this lesson. And this is the second lesson in our module 1. For our first lesson, we actually just took a brief overview of what alkanes are. They are general from lesson code. So if you have not watched that video, you can check the link under this video to have access to it. And if you want to see the full playlist that we've done so far on organic chemistry, check the description again and you have access to the full playlist. Now, you can subscribe to the channel so that you wouldn't miss any lesson, any future lesson of this sort. So alkane nomenclature, our focus is stretching. You see, when a baby is born, mostly the parent or the father decides what the name of the child should be. Is that not so? Yeah. So immediately a baby is born, male or female, the parents have already decided on what the name should be. So we also have the parent for organic compounds, so to speak, and they are the iupacs. That's International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. They are like the parent of organic compounds. So anytime an organic compound is giving birth to, so to speak, how to name that organic compound is based on the recommendation of this group. So the nomenclature of alkanes and all other organic compounds is based on the recommendation of the iupac, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. So what do they have for us for naming our alkenes, specifically the straight chain alkenes? But before we proceed to naming of the straight chain alkenes, we first want to understand what straight chain alkenes are. You see, straight chain alkenes are saturated hydrocarbons that contain only carbon and hydrogen atoms and are arranged in a continuous unbranched or with single, and all of them have single bond. Straight chain alkenes are saturated hydrocarbons, and we've already explained that contain only carbon and hydrogen atoms arranged in a continuous unbranched chain with single bonds only. So the focus of this is to name the straight chains. So if you look at the examples you have on the screen, this one, this is a branched chain alkane. Why is it a branched chain alkane? You can see we have 4 carbons out there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then on the third carbon from your left or the second from your right has another carbon sticking out of it. So that is a branched chain alkane. That is not the focus of this lesson. The focus of our lesson is these two, the first one here and the next that follows, the one with 2 carbons and then the other one that has 3 carbons. Those are the focus for this lesson. So these are the straight chains we are talking about. They have carbon atom arranged in continuous form. We don't have any branches in them. So how do we name these straight chain alkanes? What are the rules? Remember we said iupac gives us the recommendation. So for you and I, we only have to learn the recommendation and apply it in naming these alkanes. And before you proceed, if you master naming of straight chain alkanes, you will be able to name the branch chains and the haloalkanes. So please pay attention to this video or this lesson. Master this so that the subsequent lesson will be a walk in the park. So what are the rules? For naming straight chain alkanes, the first rule given to us by iupac is to identify the number of carbon atoms in the chain. I think that is fair enough and easy. Identify the number of carbon atoms in the chain. So just like naming a child, the first thing the parents have to do is to identify the gender of the child. So if the child is male or female, that will tell the name. So the parents are not going to name a male child, maybe Melissa, or a female child, John or James. So the first thing to identify is the gender. So for us also to name organic compounds, specifically straight chain alkanes, we first have to identify the number of carbon atoms present in the chain. So let's look at the examples we have on the screen. For the first example, the one on our bottom left corner, let's count the number of carbons in C. 1, 2, right? So you have 2 carbons out there. Well done. What about the next one? You have 1, 2, 3. So for the next hydrocarbon also we have 3 carbons present. What about the last one? Let's count together and see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbons. So the first step has been satisfied to identify the number of carbon atoms in the chain. Now, after we've identified the number of carbon atoms, what we have to do is to use the appropriate alkane prefix based on the number of carbon atoms. And this has also been done for us. IUPAC has already decided for us if the number of carbons are 2, what to do. Number of carbons are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just name it. What you are supposed to do, they've already given us. So that is what we refer to as the alkane prefix. So prefix means the one that the one that starts the name, basically. So to name the alkane, it always has to start in a particular way. That's what we refer to as the alkane prefix. And this is based on the number of carbons. So I have a table out there that gives us some alkane prefix for us. So for us, the alkanes we have on the board, the first one has 2 carbons, the first one has 2 carbons, the second one has 3 carbons, and the third one has 4 carbons. So keep this in mind. 2 carbons, 3 carbons, 4 carbons. So let's go check the prefix and see what to do. So this is the table. So this is alkane prefix table. IUPAC has already decided for us that if there's only 1 carbon, the prefix should be METH, meth. Yes, if I pronounce it well. If the carbons are 2, the prefix should be ETH. And if there are 3, it should be prop. Then 4, but. So you can check the names, and here's it. These are things that have already been established, and your responsibility is just to know the prefix. That's all, and you are good to go. So for the examples we had on the earlier slide, we have 2 carbons, 3 carbons, and 4 carbons. So for the 2 carbons, we are going to write ETH, 3 carbons, prop, 4 carbons, but. So keep that in mind whilst you go back. So for the first alkane, the prefix is going to be ETH. For this one, it's going to be PROP, that's prop, and it's going to be but or but, right? However I pronounce it. Good. Now we are done with the second step. Now the next recommendation for us for naming the straight chain alkane is to add the suffix ane to indicate it is an alkane. Look at the spelling of alkane. A-L-K-A-N-E. The last 3 alphabets of alkane is A-N-E. So, to name an alkane, add A-N-E to the prefix you have. And the A-N-E is going to be the suffix. So you have a prefix and then the suffix. See how simple it is. So your responsibility is just to know the prefix. And then if you are an alkane, you are naming, just add the last 3 alphabets. So let's go. We have ETH. If we add A-N-E, it becomes ethane. Then the next one becomes propane, and the last one becomes butane. So these are the examples you have on the screen. All these are saturated hydrocarbons. So the name of an organic compound helps you know whether it's an alkane or any other group. So here is a practice question or practice example for you. You have to name the following alkanes. Write the names of the following alkanes. We have only 3 examples. So let's go through the steps again. The step 1 is to count the number of carbons. Is that not so? So for the first example, how many carbons do we have out there? Let's count and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 carbons out there. So if we have 7 carbons, what to be the prefix? Let's check it out. The prefix for 7 carbons is going to be hept. H-E-P-T, right? Now let's go back. So we write hept out there. And it is an alkane. So we add what? A-N-E. So the first compound is a heptane. Hope you got it right. Okay. What about the second example? The second example, I'm daring you to pause the video and write the name in the comment section. Are you done? Now compared to the name we have, how many carbons do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 carbons. If there are 5 carbons, what would be the prefix? Remember carbon number 5, that's pent. Well, now let's go back. So if it is pent, this will be pentane. Good. What about the last example? Let's count the number of carbons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this third is just the same as the second example we saw. So this is also a pentane. I think this lesson makes sense and it's easy for us to understand, right? If you really enjoy this lesson, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that yet, and like this video and share with other colleagues you know will actually benefit from lessons like this. So this brings us to the end of our lessons on naming hot straight chain alkanes. In our next lesson, we'll be looking at what alkyl groups are. Ideally, we need to understand what alkyl groups are in order to be able to name branch chain alkanes that we'll be studying. So now you've mastered how to name straight chain alkanes, right? Now our next lesson or our next goal is to name branch chain alkanes. But before we do that, we have to take a detour a little and see what alkyl groups are, know what they are, and then apply that knowledge in naming branch chain alkanes. See you in our next lesson. But before then, what should you expect in that lesson? We'll define what an alkyl group is, explain what it is with example, and then take you through gradually how to name these alkyl groups and how to apply it in naming branch chain alkanes. See you there.